Back to 755 Forever. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer at The Athletic, and I'm with my co-host, as usual, former Braves reliever Eric O'Flaherty. What's happening?
What's up,
Oh,
Dave?
how you doing,
Nothing.
man?
I'm good.
Um, Trying to figure out what's all this stuff at the top that says meeting is now live, being live streamed on YouTube and blah blah blah. I guess I can't get rid of that. Hey, so the Braves wrap up a 7-2 homestand, hell of a homestand. With the Cleveland Guardians, who came in with the best record in the American League, still had the best record in the American League, and the Braves took 2 out of 3 from them. 2 extra inning games. Braves win today in a walk-off on Austin Riley, much needed. He and Olson really have been scuffling, and both of them hit a couple of scorchers. Well, more than that. Austin had 3 balls hit at over 100 miles an hour that went for outs in Saturday night's game. Today he hit another one for long out to left field warning track. Olson did the same thing to center field. Olson's got like the top 6 or 8 in the majors in hard hit rate and exit velo. He just have not done much to show for it. Not much to show for it. But when, as you know, when that happens, those are the guys you can look to turn it around because they're just getting bad luck. All you can do is hit the ball hard.
Yeah, and as a player, you have to, analyze your how you play outside of the results. It's one of the hardest things to do in baseball, and guys that have been in the league a long time are good at that. It'll still kind of eat at you if you take like a 1 for 12 skid, but if you know you're hitting the ball hard,
Yeah.
you're going to start hitting balls, off the end of the bat and they fall in, and then the hard hit balls find a gap, and all of a sudden, your numbers even out. But it's a really tough thing to do when like Austin hit some balls hard today. It's
And
tough when
last
you're in
night.
that slump and not catching those breaks, but that's the game, and that's how the game tests you.
And then Olson hit some balls hard and has nothing to show for it. Then gets a big hit RBI, I think game time RBI on a broken bat single, which that can be one of those
That's what I'm
things. It's
saying.
like, okay, here we go now.
Hmm.
So, but to me, it looks like Austin Riley, after really scuffling for a few weeks, looks like he's about ready to kind of go on one of those Austin Riley tears. And we know what happens when he gets on a tear. It's kind of like Acuna when he gets on one. And Olson the same way. Those are all 3 guys that can put a team on their back and kind of do what Ozuna's been doing. Meanwhile, Ozuna shows no sign of cooling off. So I wrote today, and something's going to run tomorrow, that they really have to get at least one, preferably 2 of those 3 superstars going: Acuna, Olson, Austin Riley, because those are 3 guys that were probably the biggest for the team last year, along with Ozuna, obviously went 40 and 100. But those 3 guys were from day one. In their own ways, they all do something huge. I mean, Olsen led the majors in homers and RBIs. Acuna was everything in the leadoff spot. Austin had some incredible runs. So they need to get those guys going. And I say that because, I mean, they have the best record in the major leagues, but that's a testament to their depth because we've talked about they can have those guys slumping and still have 2 or 3 other guys hot. And Ozuna's been unbelievable. But on this homestand, they won some close games because they're
Yeah.
starting pitching really flipped the switch and pitched great.
Yep.
And as a net result, the bullpen was able to flourish and show how good it is when they don't have to pitch 4 and 5 innings every night.
Yeah, they were great. And Austin hitting that ball off of Class A, that dude has I
Oh
think,
my
the best
God.
pitch in baseball. His
Nasty.
cutter, I mean, he lost the game on a slider. I don't know what the thought process is, but I don't think he should ever throw that slider in the zone one, but I don't know if he should even throw it. Like,
Yeah.
what was Mariano's off-speed pitch?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
pitch, 99 and cutting like that with depth too. It's not just going side to side, it's got some depth. And the swings you see guys take off him, I'd have a hard time calling anything else. But Austin put a good swing. I think it was the slider that he hit up the middle. But when you're taking a guy like that up the middle, you're about to
Yeah.
be hot.
Clase might be, he's definitely one of the 5 best relievers in baseball. He might be the most underrated. That guy's nasty, man. They got a hell of a team. They're one of those teams that they don't have a bunch of superstars in the lineup, but they do all the little things. Guy like Stephen Kwan in the leadoff spot. They're aggressive. They manufacture runs. They get the runner over. They ran themselves out of that inning, the extra innings where they got thrown out twice.
When
But
it
for the
happened, I was
most,
like, you're losing no matter what now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, two caught stealings in an extra inning,
It's
that
almost
doesn't happen.
impossible.
But they got a lot of guys that really do that just play the game the right way, all those cliches. And then they got one superstar pretty much in Ramirez. He's a pretty big dude, pretty big stud. Um, but they got a lot of guys that just play really well, and they got a hell of a pitching staff. All the
Yeah, they do.
starters that pitch great. Ben Lively today came in with a 2.38 ERA, goes 4 1/3, gives up 1 run, 5 strikeouts, 4 hits. But the bullpen, the Hunter Gaddis, Scott Barrow, that guy was nasty with all the hair. And
Yeah.
then Clase. Um, the game last night, the Braves lost. Jimenez gives up 3 hits, 3 consecutive singles that were between 26 and 31 miles an hour off the bat. They went like 7 to 9 feet. I mean, officially, that's hard to do. One was a bunt, the other two were miss hits, 3 singles, and gives up 2 runs. But nobody in that game did not pitch well. Everybody in that game pitched well.
Oh, he threw great.
Yeah.
That's another example of me saying the game will just test you sometimes. You give up 3 balls hit that soft, you're throwing well. And I mean, what a shitty deal to wind up giving up runs on that and
Yeah.
almost had the double play ball.
Oh, yeah.
Like that inning was so close to being all right with all that. But I mean,
Hey,
everybody in that pen's throwing well.
it's funny. He gave up 3 hits that were at 31 miles an hour or less. Austin Riley had 3 balls that were outs the night before that would hit at over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's baseball.
That double play. I don't want to say I told you so, and I don't want to jump on the guy, but if Guillorme or especially Fletcher is in there, they turn that double play.
Yeah.
I mean, Ozzy, that's just not Ozzy's strength, man. I don't know
Yeah,
why
but
he's not a little
even out
quicker
with
at
his
that.
bat.
As small as he is, I'm kind of surprised he's not quicker there, but the arm is really the difference. That little split second difference between a guy with a great arm and a guy with an okay arm or below average arm, that bang bang play that's where it makes that difference on that double play, that play at first.
I got a theory that jack dudes don't have good arms.
Yeah.
If you see a guy that's got like traps on top of his
Yeah.
traps, those type of guys like Michael Bourne, guys that are just so shredded, for whatever reason, their bodies just can't relax into that position. They got too much muscle mass almost. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't turn that, but you get his bat in the lineup.
Oh
I
yeah.
think
Oh yeah.
it's something that the team's willing to live with.
Oh, on balance, there's no question. I mean, he's the guy you want in there
Yeah,
over a Guillorme or Fletcher that doesn't give you anything offensively. He gives you so much offensively, and we've already seen it. I mean, he comes back. Today he had a single. This is Ozzy. He had a single, hit by pitch, an RBI double. I mean, he makes it up for it just in his first series back. He had a double yesterday. His first game back Friday, he had 2 hits, including a
yeah.
double. So, um, I thought that, but I thought that the starting rotation had a run going that was 5 consecutive starts of 6 1/3 or more innings with 1 or no runs allowed. That's doing some
Yeah.
pitching right there before today.
They've been, I mean, I think Lopez is probably the only surprise for me. And more than anything, just expecting a different pitcher out of him. I could have seen the results, but not the way he's doing it, the way he's pitching. But you know what Charlie can do? Sale has been Sale. He looks like his old self.
Yeah,
Uh,
he does.
Max was not going to keep sucking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think obviously you can't book that they're going to pitch like this all year, but I almost think their rotation is starting to get a little underrated. Like people aren't giving it enough credit for how deep and strong it is. I was watching the Mariners game yesterday, and they were saying stuff wise, the Mariners rotation has the best stuff in the league. And I look at I look at the Braves rotation.
Well, especially with Strider.
Yeah. Yeah, but even without it, it's who
Yeah.
doesn't have great stuff, minus that 5 spot.
Right. And Charlie last night, man, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts through 91 pitches. I mean, it looked like he could have gone another inning or two, just like
Yep.
Sale. But Smith said, we're not going to push him. And it's smart. Yeah, I think there's no reason why they can't pitch well all year unless, injury, obviously. You got a
That's
40-year-old
the
and a 35-year-old who's barely,
yeah.
who's been off and on hurt for 4 or 5 years.
And a guy
So,
starting for the first time.
yeah, and a guy, Max Fried, who's also had some nagging stuff in recent
Yeah.
years, including the two things last year. So we'll see. Like Charlie's so down to earth and reasonable and rational about this stuff because Charlie said we just got to stay healthy, but he knows it's not given. Like
Yeah.
he gets the finger injury last year. I mean, just from nothing, from spinning the ball too hard, you
Yeah.
know. Sales had so many things, including freak stuff. Um, we've seen Max get hamstrings and groins in the past. So, for their sake, let's if they can hold this together. Even Elder today, we saw what happens when Elder can occasionally get erratic. I asked him about that. And that was the problem last year. He just loses his command for a minute, but he's able to harness it today. And I thought it was pretty great to against a good lineup like that to limit it to 2 runs. He gave up 4 walks, including three walks after giving up none in the last game. He gave up 3 walks in the third inning, and they only got 1 run out of it. They left the bases loaded because he got a ground ball. So he goes 5 1/3, gives up 4 hits, 4 walks, 2 wild pitches, a hit batter, and only 2 runs. So that's good damage control.
It's not a fun way to pitch.
No,
It's a lot more fun to have a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, but you got to respect it because it takes balls to trust your stuff in the zone when you're throwing 90, 92-mile-an-hour sinkers. You have to trust it and make a good pitch and trust that you'll get that ground ball and that it'll be to somebody. But you get a couple double play balls today and it turns into an all right start.
I'd guess it earns him another. I don't know why you would option him and call up somebody else. I mean, that's the best you can hope for from anybody else you call up. What he did today, not to mention how well he pitched in the first game up. So I think you at least take him on his trip and have him make one more start on this trip and see what it does out on the road. It'll be a tough contest at Dodger Stadium, obviously. But
Yeah.
he's a guy I like out of the candidates you've got. He's the one I think I'd trust the most to go in there of the fifth starter candidates.
He had a great year last year.
Yeah, yeah, great first half. You know,
He's shown he can have outings like today and minimize the damage and give his team a chance to win. And he's got a track record from last year. I know he had a rough second half, but
yeah,
is he going to be a Cy Young candidate? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. But he can be a legit major league starter. And he's already shown us. And he comes up and has a decent start. I've given him another one.
certainly a fifth star, a solid fifth starter.
Yeah.
So right now the Braves are on the plane to Seattle. They probably have not. No, they haven't landed yet. What goes on a plane like that? How did they divide the plane up when you were with the Braves? Was it the same with every team you were with? How'd they divide the plane?
So we had Paul Allen's plane, and it was sick. It was like
Nice.
all the seats. It was every seat was first class.
Wow.
You had a
Oh,
giant seat that reclined. You had your own TV. You had all this stuff, and then
Jesus.
one of the Trailblazers. So us and the Trailblazers were using it. One of the Trailblazers left a gun on it, and, and they said no more athletes after that. So I mean, kind of a funny story. I remember. So we got just like a normal private jet, and everybody just thought it was a piece of shit compared to what we had. And this is my first full season in the big leagues. I'm like 22, and everything to me is still insane.
Yeah.
And I remember that we're sitting on the runway for a while, and somebody yells up, "Let's get this shit box rolling!" Like this plane was just garbage. And I remember sitting around like, this is still the best I could ever imagine getting to travel in my life. So you get kind of spoiled in the big leagues. But
Yeah, in a
we had
hurry.
that. Oakland had a really nice plane, actually. The Mets chartered a Delta, and then Atlanta just chartered Deltas. So on the Atlanta flights, you get those big full-size deltas, and everybody gets their own row. Some of the rookies and young guys have to double up if there's not enough space or there's some family on the flight. But
Right.
usually the veterans get the back, and they kind of, there's not really rules.
Right.
There's no seat belt on, tray tables up, any of that. It's pretty fun. I mean, you do whatever
Yeah.
you want, and Flight attendants know you, so they're real friendly. They'll bring you drinks. But a long flight like that, yeah, it can get out of hand.
Were they still playing a lot of card games when you were on? They were, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I jumped in. I jumped in one time with remember Gerald Laird?
Oh yeah.
G Money?
Five
G
tools, one man.
G Money was making
One man,
I don't
five
know,
tools.
like whatever the veteran minimum was, like 1 million or something. He was
Yeah.
gambling with the Upton brothers. He had the biggest balls I've ever seen. I was not I played with them one time and I was up however many thousand, down however many thousand, and I just said, get me out of here. I don't want to play. I'll give my money back. I'll give my winnings back. Just let me out of this because it was too stressful for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's some cards going on. There's I mean the best thing about the flights is you're locked into that playing together. So there's nowhere
Yeah.
to go. So you have nothing to do but to really get to know your teammates and hang out and spend some time, whether you're talking about the games or talking about life. But that's kind of when teams are built.
Yeah. Yeah. Gerald Laird, man, he was a funny guy. And
He's
people forget because Brace had him at the end of his career, and he wasn't that he was a usual backup by the end of his career, limited. But people forget he was a top prospect at one time, like
yeah.
really high draft pick, really high. And we asked him, I think his name was number was 1-5, right?
I would have to look it up, but
I think it
I'm
was.
sure
And
he
we asked
said
him
it
about
every
his
day.
I think we asked him about his number one time or whatever. He goes, one man, five tools. Because at one time he was a multi-tool player. I don't know if he was five, but he was. I asked Boris about that. He laughed because he was one of his favorite guys
Oh,
early. He was a Boris guy early.
he made every day fun. You got to have guys like that.
Um, so I wrote something today about for tomorrow about those three guys I said that need to come around, and the Bray and Olson and Riley both show some encouraging signs today. This weekend, obviously. Um, Cunha, not so much. We obviously know he's the guy you need to least worry about because he's just so talented. It's only a matter of time. But you pointed out something the other day, and you didn't even know the stats, but you were right. You were talking about all the strikes, all the swings and misses he's got this
Yeah.
year. And that to me is the big difference. So I looked it up today, and sure enough, last year you could point a lot of his improvement people realized about midway through the season or earlier that he was striking out at a dramatically reduced weight. The swings and misses reduced rate. The swings and miss, the whiffs were way down. And I mean, the kind of improvement you rarely see in a 1 year from a really good player. But he had like cut his strikeout rate in half last year. So I looked at it today and I was amazed at what I found. Now, we gotta always preface this with the caveat that he missed much of spring training with the knee thing.
Yeah.
So I think that really set him back. Because last year he played a lot, had a great spring, came out and took it forward into the season. But he's hitting 255 with one homer, 715 OPS right now. Struck out three times today, struck out with a runner on first at the end of ninth inning. And the strikeouts, like I said, are the big thing. And he's not hitting by his hard hit rate and exit velos are way down, like it would be at career low levels right now, like 90 miles an hour, down like 4 miles an hour from last year's average. So, but the thing that really jumped out is Savant has that year over year change,
Yeah.
which is really valuable. And then you look at an individual player, and then you can look at the league who had the highest and lowest year, the best and worst year over year changes. So he had 337 last year, 41 homers, 73 stolen base, 1,012 OPS. Okay. It was unbelievable. But the thing that was so dramatic analytically was the strikeout rate. Career low by a mile, 11.4% last year. Okay.
Yeah.
This year, 22.9% before he struck out three times today. He's inching towards his 2022 rate of 23.6. Meanwhile, his hard hit rate and his barrel percentages and all the other measures of the exit velo, sweet spot, all those are like career lows right now if they continue. They won't continue, but they are right now. His whiff rate is up 10.8% this season to 29.5. That's the highest increase among MLB qualifiers. Now, last year, his rate declined from 24%, 24.9% in 2022 to 18.7 last year. So it was the largest decrease, which means he's gone from the largest decrease in the majors among all qualifiers from 2022 to last year to right now, at least, the highest increase of all qualifiers. So that's the ends of the extreme for him. Then is expected slugging percentage, which is a really good stat. I like it. Ozuna right now is up 169 before today, at least. That's the third highest increase in expected slugging percentage, which takes into account all the factors and what your slugging percentage should be. Not necessarily what it is, but what it should be if your no luck was involved. So his is up 169. Third highest rate among qualifiers increase over year. Acuna was down 272 points in expected slugging percentage before today. That's the biggest decline in the majors. Now, a year ago, he went from in 2022 to 2023, a 176 increase was the largest 1 year over. So in those two categories, he went from the highest increase in the majors to the highest decrease right now in both of those stats of all the players in the majors, which is kind of wild. That's some extremes there.
Yeah, I mean, he had an extreme season. And I mean,
yeah,
maybe he's not a 40-70 guy every year, but he's still really damn good, and you know what he can do. And I think you have a year like last year, and it's kind of like, how do I top that?
Right.
And then
right.
you get maybe 2 weeks into the season, 3 weeks into the season, and you were expecting to do it again or to top it or beat it, and you look up on that scoreboard and see one home run.
You start
You
pressing.
know, yeah, I think so. I think more than anything, it looks to me like he's swinging a little hard, and he always swings hard, but it just looks like I've seen him get some hanging sliders in the middle of the plate. And
Yeah.
when the pitchers throw those, I'm like, you're so lucky he's cold right now,
Yeah.
because that would be a 500-foot shot when he's right. But it doesn't seem like he's just trusting that he is that guy, that he's got that power, and he would take those sliders on the outer half and drive them out to right center. It looks like he's trying to pull them. That's what I text you about. I'm
Right.
like, man, I cannot believe these pitchers are getting away
Yeah.
with these pitches to him right now. It's part of the game. I mean, you go through it and then you start pressing. He'll find his way out of it, but it's definitely been a drastic change.
Yeah, and it's so dramatic because he had the season for the ages last year. I mean, he might
Yeah,
never repeat that season, and if he doesn't, it's
nobody's
not.
gonna ever repeat
Yeah,
that.
yet nobody ever did it before or even came
Yeah,
close. So, but to your point on what those pitches that he's missing that he hit last year, his chase rate is not up. It's not like he's swinging at pitches out of the strike zone. He's just missing.
yeah,
So his whiff rate is way up and his strikeout rate's way up, but his chase rate's not. Like pitches outside the zone, it's not up. So he's just missing those pitches.
yeah, yeah, and
Fouling some back that he crushed last year.
that's when I text you. I was like, he does not miss those. I mean, I've seen him have some games, but sitting there and watching it and seeing those pitches, I'm talking cement mixers, middle away at the belt, and he
Yeah.
fouls them off or swings through them. It's just not him.
I talked to Seitz a few days ago about it, and he said he's not right yet. He's not locked in. He goes, I have total confidence it's going to come.
Yeah.
So
I think the hardest thing in baseball to do is just trust your power, or trust that you're good enough, trust your fastball, but just to trust it. And for power hitters, when they hit a couple balls, they think they hit good. He hit one the other night, and somebody put the exit velocity and the launch angle, all the shit up, and said this ball was a home run for him every time he hit it like this last year, and it got caught at the track. I think it was one to center field.
yeah, ball's not carrying great yet at all.
Crushed the ball, but just
Yeah.
the type, like what that does to you. If you look at a guy like Adrian Beltre, had a 40 or 50 homer season with the Dodgers before he signed with Seattle. Went and played in Seattle, and the ball doesn't carry.
Yeah.
You start changing stuff. You start trying a little harder. So if he just stays the course, I mean, he may not go 40-70 again, but I bet we look up in September and he's got 33 and 40,
Yeah.
50 bags.
Yeah. Riley and Olson each had 2 hits on the homestand before today in the first
Hmm.
8 games, and each of them had a hit today. Riley had 2 hits today. So Riley is up 4 for 33 with 2 RBIs on the homestand, including a game winner today. Olson 3 for 30 with 3 RBIs on a homestand. So neither one of those guys for the year, Olson's hitting 212, 723 OPS, Riley 224, 693. But like I said, they showed encouraging sign this weekend. Olson ranks among league leaders in hard hit rate, exit velocity for today. He had a line drive to deep center today, 106.6 that was caught at the track or deep.
And he hit
So
a ball last
yeah,
night, I think,
yeah.
off a Class A that got caught at the track. And when the way he was jogging, he thought he got it. I mean,
Um,
that's 2 hard hit balls off that dude that
yeah,
I don't see
that
anybody
dude's tough.
nastier.
They're remember when the Braves could not the first years of the Ghost Runner, the Braves sucked at it. It was like they
Yeah.
couldn't figure out how they wanted to go about it. Defensively, do they intentionally walk to set up a double play? Offensively, they just couldn't do anything. They were terrible in those games.
Hmm.
They are like the masters of it now because their lineup is so deep. I
Yeah.
figured this out, and their bullpen is so deep. So the thing is, now they get to the 10th, 11th inning, and they're not running a guy out there that they don't want pitching. They run Mentor out in the 10th inning today, and their lineup, it doesn't matter like most teams if it's just a kind of okay, where are they going to be in their lineup when the 10th inning starts? Are they going to be in the 7th spot with that ghost runner at second? Well, the Braves, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't
So
matter.
as a result, they're getting that ghost runner in. They're winning in the 10th or 11th inning. They lost 2 days ago, the Guardians. But the Braves have gone 4-1 in extra inning games this year, 3 walk-offs at home, and they are a major's best 12-4 in those games since the beginning of the last season. That's after sucking
Yeah.
at it for a couple 3 years.
And we've
Couple
talked
years.
about their bullpen depth quite a bit, but that's almost another, it's like a bonus save situation, right? And so
Yeah,
when you have 4 or 5 guys down there that I think could be 40 save guys, you're bringing in the guy you were kind of trying to stay away from that day.
yeah,
It's like you go with the guys that you know you're going to use and you know they're available. Then you have another guy that's pitched 2 out of 4 or whatever it is. You're
yeah,
like he could use a day off, but all right, we can win this one. It's right here. And that's like a guaranteed situation where you got a runner on second to start the next inning. So if we can get out of this jam, when Minter picked off, was it Kwan today? Who did he pick off?
yeah,
He picked
yeah,
off Kwan today. I was like, that's ball game. There's
yeah,
no way, like that is the end of the game because
yeah. That was
the
poor.
momentum of that,
That
right? The
was
momentum
poor.
of it, but then also you got this great lineup and you get to start an inning with a runner on second. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
even fair.
yeah.
So you can bring in a closer type reliever that you were trying to stay away from, and they always got one on tap for the 10th.
And it's not like in the old days where you didn't use your closer, unless it was a safe situation, sometimes at home with the whatever, it
Home
was
tie is closer.
right,
Home and tie. Yeah.
right. But the Braves are using theirs more now, even like down a run sometimes. And because, Iglesias is going to pitch that, it's going to pitch because you don't have to save him thinking we got to have him ready in case we could take the lead or
Yeah.
whatever. And because Mentor can close, Pierce Johnson can close, Joe Jimenez can obviously close. They got a lot of guys. And Snit is also able to really stick with his guns on not overusing guys. Like you
Yeah.
saw Dylan Lee last year, as deep as their lineup it is, Snit is not going to go use these guys when they're down. He's not going to use them.
Yep.
So obviously he had a couple of guys down last night because Dylan Lee would not have come out for a second inning, and he did.
Right.
And he did pitch bad. He just gave up a little bit, but a couple things fell in. But
But they
that's
had bases
where,
loaded, 1 out. I mean, he almost did what needed to be done and
yeah,
get the win.
this big picture though is what Snit is keeping in mind at all times. Because even
Hmm.
as deep as that bullpen is, they are going to make damn sure that they get to the second half or to the end of the season and still have a loaded bullpen, and none of
And they
those guys
can.
hurt.
There's not a lot of questions you can ask when it's, Minter or Pierce Johnson. Why'd you
Yeah,
go with this guy? Somebody down. I mean, he has 5, 6 legitimate choices to use late in the game that you really can't question because they're all, like we said, closer material.
yeah. And they got guys down in the minors that if midseason somebody were to get hurt, a couple of guys were to get hurt, you guys down there, you could go with like Smith Shaw or
Hmm.
you got guys down there that you could use in a pen roll if you needed to. So they're going to have a good pen all year, and we've already seen how important it is, and especially with these starters, if they're going like 6, 7, 8 innings like they have been, or 9 in the case of Freed, that pen is going to be well rested. So they've only got, I think, Mentor was the only guy that was in like the top 35 in appearances in the majors, and then innings they only had like 2 in the top 50 or 60. So,
That's also a credit to the offense.
oh yeah,
You know, one, you're deep, so it's
yeah,
not like you got these three guys that we always have to rely on, and then the 4 or 5 after them are you got a 50% chance of giving up a run. You're really deep, so you can rest them, but also you get to have these big wins
yeah,
where you can throw. There's a couple of times where they had 5, 6 run leads, and somebody came in and gave it up. You got to get your closer hot, but you can stay away from guys so much easier and push those buttons when you're up by 6 or 7 runs. Like if you can just pad in a few blowouts, it's such a rest for your bullpen.
yeah.
And they do more than that. I mean, they beat teams a lot by 5, 6, 7 runs.
Stephen Vogt impressed me, man. He's got that
Yeah.
team. They got a good vibe to them. They're really
Hmm.
together. They're cohesive. They're aggressive, really aggressive. Um, Pitching
Did you
and
see he's
hitting.
younger than Charlie?
Yeah, he's 39. Charlie's 40.
Yeah.
Uh, and he said before game one, how are they going to attack Braves lineup? Or how they're going to face the Braves lineup? He said, attack. We're going to be aggressive. They got a bunch of good hitters. We're going to attack. And they did. And they're really aggressive offensively. And for the most part, it really worked. I mean, they ran
Yeah.
themselves out a couple of innings today, but they take the extra base. They got good base runners. They steal. Uh, Braves catching, man, has improved so much. I tell you what, really stood out, and Snit pointed to it a couple of times, is Walt Weiss worked with those guys because he took over as the co-infield coach and worked with those guys at spring training a lot of hours for the first time on tags. They usually don't spend a lot of time on it. They spend as much time as any team. They really worked like hours and hours on tags because the Braves missed some tags last year. They felt on some plays
At
that
home?
were good enough throws, right? Yeah, that were good enough throws. So they worked on the tags, and you have seen it. You saw it in this series on those two most caught stealings, like 3 or 4 of them, where the Braves made great tags. Arcea's made a couple
Okay,
really
you're
good
talking at
tag.
second base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arcea's made a great tag. Riley made a good tag, I think it was Riley. And then at home, they made a couple of great tags. But yeah, you see Arcea made a great tag the other day. Or who was it the other day made one where he reached back and got him? Was that Arcea or was that Guillorme? Anyway, they've made where the throw was good, but if the tag wasn't good, they probably wouldn't have got the guy. So they're really, that's really showing up right now. And Darno and Chadwick Trunk can both throw the ball down there pretty
Yeah.
quick, pop time, on accurate throws. So they that really got them out of some innings in this series, and it has in this homestand. Those tags, man. There's
There's
another
so
one
many
today.
things like that. Yeah, day 46 of spring training, we're still working on tags you don't think are going to come up during the
Yeah,
year, but they they win you 2 games during the season.
yeah,
There's and then you pile up, you do 5 different things that seem like, maybe not that important, and they're only going to come up once or twice, like an inside move. Minter's
yeah,
inside move was money. I mean, he paused, he checked, he stayed there. He kept the same pace as when he goes to home. He lifted his leg the same as when he goes to home. And I would get that. I was so bad at picking off, but I would get that sign from the catcher, and I just wanted to get it over with. I'd look at the runner, look
yeah,
back to home plate, lift my leg, and turn around like we're not going to get him. But that won him the game, and so it's cool to me that they have a team that's this talented and they're still doing all the little stuff right.
yeah. The one today was Trump to Arcia for the third out in the fourth inning. They got Tyler Freeman. And the naked eye, initially, I didn't think he had gotten him because it looked like Freeman was past him when he got it, but the throw was right to his knee. He caught the ball, and all he had to do was keep the glove moving, and it went right into his knee. So it was a nice play, and I
I'm
think it
trying to see if
surprised
I can find
Cleveland.
it.
Yeah, it was the fourth inning to end the fourth inning.
Oh yeah.
That was a great tag right there.
Little stuff like that, it all adds up. You
Yeah,
check the standings at the end of the year and you did, 7 little things like that.
they had 3 caught stealings today, man.
Yeah. Well,
2 in the extra innings. I mean, that was huge.
two shouldn't have been. Well, one, I mean the pick, but
Yeah,
that last one where Ramirez didn't slide. I
yeah.
love too when you're watching the game and somebody does something like that, the camera always just zooms in on their manager's face. The camera just goes straight to vote, just
I,
looking.
I they had a stolen base against Sale. I think Sale, he looked at him once and then he looked home. And I think he just kind of forgot or didn't. He's like, okay, that's enough. I'm not going to look at it because he's looking at it, he's facing him, and the guy just took off. And Sale was so
Yeah.
focused on the mitt that he went and had delivered the pitch.
Well, that's also, I mean, that's kind of how I was. I wasn't
Yeah.
going to worry about the runners. I was going to mix up my timing. If they went, they went. But the last thing you want to do as a pitcher, and we've talked about this with kind of what Acuna can do, where you saw a guy
Yeah.
throw over 3 times and give him a bag, get so
Right.
distracted by him.
Get
But
distracted.
the biggest part of that speed on the base is it'll distract you. It'll mess up your timing. You're so
Yeah.
worried about being quick to the plate or if he's going or not. You got 2 pick signs from the manager. All of a sudden, you forget to make a good pitch. I was always like, you know what? I can't. I this is too much for me. I'm gonna
Yeah.
mix up my looks. If they go, they go. But I'm focusing solely on making a good pitch. But we'll see what happens with the runner. But some guys are able to kind of play that game. I wasn't.
A
Max
lot,
can do it.
a lot of relievers are like that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like Kimbrel, it's like he doesn't give a shit what the runners are doing. You
He
know?
walks on purpose to send him to
Yeah.
third.
Yeah. He's
I don't
like,
want to deal with you.
but I think Sale knows what he's doing. I mean, that might have looked bad, but he'd rather be focused on the catcher and the signal because he
Yeah.
doesn't shake off. That's his thing. He does not
Nope.
shake off. And okay, that's the
Yeah.
pitch. I'm throwing it. So he obviously knows what the hell he's doing. So what a breath of fresh air he's been. Oh my God. I talked about I can't tell you enough how his post-game interviews, it was another one last night, was just or 2 nights ago. It's just tremendous. I mean, he's just so candid, so thoughtful, so smart, loves the team so much. I mean, he
Yeah.
really appreciates being on a good team because it's been a while for him. He's been on some, they won a World Series in Boston, but he's been on some bad teams.
Yeah. And
White
he
Sox
started
and
with
then Boston at the
Chicago.
end. Yeah. And then Boston at the end and, disappointing teams. So he's really enjoying this great vibe that this team has. And having a guy like Charlie who's older than him and having these veteran catchers, it's just all suits him really well because he's so intense and he's
Yeah.
so, I mean, he expects accountability and all that. So I don't think he wants to be around a team that's got a couple of shitheads that aren't accountable, that
Yeah.
don't take it seriously or whatever. So I really think he likes the vibe here and it's bringing out the best in him.
He had me when he cut those jerseys up because the whole team. There's nothing worse than
Yeah.
being uncomfortable when you're playing. And
Yeah.
some of these throwback uniforms, it's fine if they're ugly, but when the fit feels
Yeah.
wrong,
Like
you
long,
know,
long sleeves that hang down past the elbows or something.
yep, like that or tight sleeves. Like a lot of
Yeah.
those retro jerseys have the rings, the thick rings around your
Yeah.
bicep that get stuck. For whatever reason, that stuff just pisses you off and bothers you. You don't feel right. You don't feel loose. The whole team was bitching about it. And the whole
Exactly.
team was like, what are we wearing? And he told him he didn't want to wear them when he pitched. They put him out there. He said, we're not wearing them today and just cut him up.
And he's the
That,
only one with the balls to act
yeah,
on it. I talked to
yeah,
Tyler Flowers after they traded for him because Tyler was a teammate, was
yeah,
catcher in White Sox. And Brzezinski said the same thing, is that he's a guy who speaks up for players that aren't comfortable yet being able to
yep,
speak up or might not ever be comfortable to speak up. He speaks for everybody. When there's something that needs to be said, but nobody wants to be the guy to say it for fear or whatever, Tyler said he's the guy that would say it. And everybody,
yeah,
that's why every team he's played for, the players respect him because that's the way he is. So it's a totally different view than the view was of him from the outside. Oh, that guy's an asshole. Then the inside, it's
nah.
like, no,
We love them.
he's doing
Yeah.
this for us.
I mean, some
So
guys are just born leaders like that,
yeah,
but there's other guys that are born leaders, but they're not very good.
right,
So you can't go cutting up the jerseys if you're batting
right.
185, right? So you have to get lucky enough to have the combination of a guy with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball and a ridiculous breaking ball that will speak up for the team. And he's that perfect combination where he's He would, and especially when he's doing it in Chicago. I mean, you can't have, he's young,
Yeah,
but he's figured out I am the guy here and embrace that role. And so you get that combination. It's great to have on your side.
yeah. And you can't back down once you do something like that too, and they come to you and you can't
He'll
say,
pay
"Oh,
for
sorry,
him.
I'm
He'd pay
sorry."
for him for the whole
Yeah,
team too,
yeah,
but we're not wearing them. That's pretty, I love that move.
yeah. It's a great move. Right now, it's looking like to me maybe the most important trade of the offseason because especially with Strider down of
Hmm.
maybe of any team. I thought the Braves with Murphy trade last year might have been the most important trade, even though Contreras has turned out to be pretty damn good with Milwaukee.
Yeah.
The fit of Murphy here is great in that catcher room. So, uh, I really think that the Sale trade has the potential to be, if he stays healthy, you
Yeah.
know, especially the fact that they re-upped with him. So with Free, you don't know what's going to happen next year if he's going to be back, but you know you got Sale coming back next year. You know you got Ronaldo Lopez now under contract for 3 years. Huge signing. I
Yeah.
mean, at 10 million a year for him as a starter, that's a bargain.
They
As
pick
a
their spots to
reliever,
take, the right risks. It seems like they all pay off.
yeah. So I mean, that's a pretty good place to start with those two. Um, and then you got the same guys we've been talking about are going to have another year under their belts by next year. So if they need to go out and get one starter, they can do that to a 1 year contract. To two, you got like Charlie Morton. If Charlie doesn't keep pitching, go get a
Yeah.
veteran guy like that if they need to. They can do that for sure.
It
But
could be
you got to
somebody
think
like that or a trade. It probably won't be a big,
if you don't re-sign Freed, which
yeah.
But yeah, you got to think Sale in his second year here. If he stays healthy all year, I mean, he's going to be the total bell cow in that rotation, the leader from day one. Him and
Yeah.
Strider's going to be back.
What a
So
guy to follow.
Strider will be back in April. He could be back by the start of the season. So Sale, Strider, and Lopez, that ain't bad.
Good start.
Yeah. Depending on what happens to Freed, who knows? All right. Big trip. This is gonna be a good one, man. I'm looking forward to both these. I'm going to LA. I'm looking forward to all these games. These are gonna be some good series, good matchups. And last time the Braves played the Dodgers out there, it was in at the end of August, early September, and it was a phenomenal series. And that was where Acuna kind of turned the MVP race around. So we'll see if he can get going on this trip. It's gonna be facing Julio Rodriguez, the two phenoms from a couple of years ago, on the same field. Kelnick going back home. I know he's going to be jacked up. Hopefully, he doesn't come out of his shoes.
I'm gonna have to find a way to watch it because I'm blacked out.
Oh God, you guys got all that shitty regional sports network out there, huh?
Yeah, I tried to sign up for Fubo a few times and they wouldn't take my credit card, so I don't know what's going on with that. I tried three different cards, so I don't know how I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna have to get that
You can't
VPN
watch
or
it on
whatever it
on
is.
you can't watch it on your MLB network because it's blacked out.
Yeah, MLB.com. So I watch all the games through the MLB app,
Yeah,
like on Apple TV, and I
right.
can watch everybody but the Mariners. If I
Isn't
want
that
the Mariners, I got to
ridiculous?
sign up for it's just a pain in the
That's
ass.
so baseball TV around the country is so screwed up, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it is so they make it so hard to watch the games. It's just terrible to get it to shit together, man. It's just
just
awful.
a pain in the ass.
I mean,
I I'm
you're in
gonna use a
Walla
VPN
Walla.
thing.
It's not like
Yeah,
you can just drive over and go to the
4 hours away.
game.
Yeah. Well, you people are blacked out in Montana. It's a 12-hour drive.
Braves have the same thing. People
Yeah.
bitch about here getting blacked out. I was at my
Wish they
my
just
parents.
do an add-on charge, like for an extra
Yes,
$5 a month and give it to the cable company or whatever it is. But that's, I think, why those cable deals were so big
yeah.
because they were thinking it was, and I don't think it's working out because I've seen
No,
the
it's not.
Diamondbacks have like a $99 for the whole year.
Well, yeah, they
T-Mobile,
got dropped by
yeah,
Bally.
yeah,
They got picked up by like MLB's doing it with I don't know. It's all screwed up. I can't even
yeah.
explain it. But the Braves hasn't affected them because they were one of their marquee teams. Bally, they didn't drop them and a couple of others, so hasn't affected them at all. But yeah, I was at my parents in North Carolina a couple of years ago, and I couldn't watch the Braves game when I was up there. It was
Yeah.
like I could watch the Nationals and I couldn't watch the Braves. It was man,
I just you do all this stuff to try to grow the game. It's like, how
yeah,
about not make it such a pain in the ass? I haven't watched the Mariners. Yeah, I barely watch any Mariners games. I'd watch every night if I could just
yeah,
do it easily. I'd pay. I'll
yeah,
gladly pay, but don't make me sign up for a specific service. Let me pay.
yeah.
Uh, Like, I
Let me
don't get
buy it
why
a
it's
la
got to be so
carte, damn it.
complicated. I'd buy each game, the nights I was going to watch for $20 if I had to, but they won't let me do that. I got to have, I think it's Root Sports or something like that. And
Yeah.
Fubo won't take my credit card.
All right. Well, we'll do another of these on wait, Seattle is oh, there's an off day in LA. So we'll probably do it that day in LA when I get there on Thursday. So, but anyway, we'll do one after the Seattle series and after the Dodgers series. And thanks everybody for signing up on YouTube and giving us good ratings and all that. We really appreciate it. We went over 1,000, which was important for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it was. So we did. We're over that. So keep signing up. We appreciate it, and keep listening to us if you're not watching on YouTube, or do both. It's worth doing both. Buy the merch, buy the coffee from Mr. Van Gogh and up in North Carolina, or order it online and all that. All right. We appreciate it. 755 forever. We're out.